Welcome back to the Real Estate Sitdown presented by Double B Homes and the Pemberton Home Team. This is episode 36. I'm Blair Berg, and joining us today is Amber Perez. How are you doing, Amber?
Doing good. How are you?
I am doing well. So Amber is a newer team member to the Pemberton Home Team, so we're going to be integrating her into the show, getting her new perspective, so that'll be fun. So today, at the time of recording, it's Monday, January 29th, 2024, and the interest rate for a 30-year conventional loan is 6.9%. And that's actually of no change from last week. So we've been riding that just under 7% now for the last month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's very good. And like I said, I think that as we push into spring, it's going to continue to come down. But right now it's just kind of stuck there at 6.9.
Yeah, I think it'll come down too.
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah, no, it has to. And again, we're in an election year, so can see that coming down, especially as we move into spring. But as you said, it's going to bring prices up also. So
yeah.
If you can afford it now, I say get in while you can, because you'll be facing a lot more competition come April.
Yep.
So.
And with competition, you got to have cash in your pocket.
Yeah,
you
exactly. Do. Yeah. So Amber joins us from the East Coast, so a little bit different market than we have here in Minnesota, so I think it'll be really good for a national perspective. I don't know, do you want to give us a little bit of your background first?
Yeah, so I actually started my real estate career in upstate New York. I sold there for 4 years. I was up by Fort Drum, so very familiar with how to sell houses in the cold and in the snow. Lucky for us, we haven't had that much snow here. Yeah. And then I left New York as a top producer and went down to Virginia, which is where I was originally from. Okay. Sold near Virginia Beach. So I serviced Hampton Roads area, lots and lots of military around there. So the VA loan is my favorite thing in the whole world. And then I recently came up to Minnesota. Actually, this month I moved here and, ready to jump right in and get it done.
Yeah. No, if you're okay in upstate New York, you should be fine here.
Oh, so. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
I was joking the other day. I was like, I went outside and my grass was still green from the fall because it hasn't died yet. And I was like, well, we survived winter. It's already spring.
Yeah, so, right? No kidding.
Hopefully it stays warm. We wanted to open up today and talk a little bit about the differences in the market. We were talking, Virginia's got some other things that Minnesota doesn't have here. So if you want to open up and see and talk about some differences you've already seen.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed here, you guys don't do a termite moisture inspection. It's just too daggone cold for the termites to survive. So it's exempt. And, with the VA loan, like I said, it's one of my favorite products. In the South, you're required to have a termite moisture inspection. Mm-hmm. So crawl spaces are really big down there, whereas here basements are really big. We send somebody under the crawl space and they check for fungus growth, they check for termites, and we have to get both a clear letter for moisture and termites. And if you don't have that with the, with the VA loan, with the clear termite letter, you're not going to close. Mm-hmm. So super important to have that.
Yeah, and I think people in Minnesota don't really get into those kind of details until they're like buying a vacation home down in Florida, because I get that all the time. Where some clients I have, I'll refer them out down to Florida. I know my girlfriend's dad just bought a place in Florida, and they come back and like, what's this termite test I got to get done? Like, we don't have that here. So yeah, it's definitely something. I mean, it's great. You need it out there. That's definitely not something you want to get into and find out you have termites.
Yeah, so. Definitely not. It can be. I've heard of cases where somebody has waived their termite test because maybe they had a conventional loan or something and it's not required by the loan product, and they ended up opening up a wall in their house and found the entire side of the house was destroyed by termites, and it even went into like the staircase, like in the middle of their house. So super important in the South to get that taken care of.
Well, that's interesting too, because I guess I didn't even know. Again, I don't really dabble in that market. I guess I always thought that was a mandatory thing, like from the bank. So you can waive that termite inspection.
Depending on the terms of the loan, or if they're cash buyers.
Yeah.
If they're cash buyers, you can do whatever you want. That wasn't my deal. It was just something that I heard through the grapevine that had happened in Virginia in the Hampton Roads market. Probably my second year that I was selling there is when that happened. It was pretty rough.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think. I mean, have you seen anything that we do here that's kind of unfamiliar along that?
So there's actually a lot of the same things here that there are in New York.
Okay.
So, I feel pretty confident and comfortable doing. I mean, you guys have a little bit of different terminology. Like we use the word escrow in the East Coast, because we used escrow in New York too, and you guys don't use escrow.
Yeah.
So just different terminology.
So is that in Virginia too?
Yeah, escrow.
I could be wrong, but most states I go to, and I talk to other agents there, we're one of the only states that don't use escrow.
Yeah.
As a term.
Yep.
Like, I know what it is.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's what it is called on documents, but for some reason we just don't say that word out loud.
You guys call it a trust, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always thought that too, and I think it's just like a Midwest thing. It's a soda
Probably.
pop type deal. So
Soda pop. Yep, you got it.
yeah. So yeah, I guess before we move on from that, anything else you can think of that, I mean, is there any different trends when it comes to buyers or sellers or just markets in general, or is it kind of?
They're about the same, I think. Obviously, we have a little bit of different clientele here than we do where I was selling in Virginia, because 85% of my business was easily VA buyers. So I'm extremely comfortable with military and, what the VA loan requires. And the other 15% was FHA and conventional. So pretty solid there. I'm haven't had the opportunity to, figure out what the majority of my business is going to be here just yet. Yeah. But I would imagine that most of it's going to either be FHA or conventional.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you actually don't live far from the VA hospital, so you can just advertise right outside of there.
Perfect. I'm going to stand out there.
Yeah, right?
Pass out flyers.
Yeah. No, so that's great. So moving on, we'll get into the comment section. And the comment, we'll be talking about a couple comments. I mean, they're all kind of in the same vein. I had posted, from the episode last week, I posted a shorter clip that was just about foreclosure rates and how there's a narrative online that I'm seeing that more foreclosures are happening. While technically, yes, more foreclosures are happening this year compared to the last 2 years. I mean, during COVID, they're almost non-existent due to forbearance. But when you look at the graph, I mean, starting from the early 2000s to now, we're actually at historic lows.
For sure.
And they're starting to pick back up because obviously now we're back in the full swing of things. But a lot of comments were saying, but why? What's the thoughts on this, on why so low foreclosure rates? And that's kind of the gist of all the comments on that one. And there are a ton of different reasons. And I think why they're so low, one, we're just coming off forbearance. So people had time to kind of get their finances together and make sure they're paying their mortgages.
Right.
Then, I mean, unemployment is very low right now. So that helps.
Yep, people are able to pay their loans back. My thought on it is, if you think of it of like a water spigot during COVID, the water got shut off.
Yeah.
They didn't kick anybody out of their house, right? They didn't put anybody on the street. Even if you couldn't pay your loan, forbearance was a thing. So it just got tacked on to the end of the loan, so that way you could, in most cases, get caught back up. But now they're starting to turn the faucet on, but they're not just going to turn it on all the way, because if they do, it's going to flood the market and it's going to hurt the markets.
Well, and it's interesting too, because obviously I'm not saying I want more people to lose their homes. No one wants that. But with unemployment being so low, foreclosures are low, that is one of the determining factors, though, of why the market is so expensive right now. With higher interest rates, inventory is historically low, and that's because foreclosures are so low. Right. Unfortunately, when you have a healthy real estate market, you have a healthy number of foreclosures.
Right.
Because that's what's giving the market inventory. You need distressed sellers to have a healthy real estate market, unfortunately.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing right now.
Well, the other thing is there's so many investors out there that are willing to scoop in whenever there is a distressed seller and save them essentially from foreclosure. And the investors take advantage of the opportunity. The sellers get their credit saved, and then they're able to go out and buy something that they can afford.
Yep.
So, and then the investor has something that they can flip or rent out.
Well, Then that's a good point too. The internet is becoming very savvy. Everyone wants to be a real estate investor now.
Yep.
And I mean, my TikTok's full of it. I see it everywhere on social media. Everyone wants to be a real estate investor. So people are out there giving you the blueprint on how to go and find these distressed properties. I mean, here in Minnesota, big one, investors I know in the winter, if you drive around, look for unplowed driveways, stuff like that. It's usually a vacant home. So they're making offers on those.
I used to do absentee owner letters to get listings. So what I would do is I would go through the county records and find houses in the county records that had a mailing address that was different than the physical address.
Yes.
And I would literally just mail out letters to those sellers like, hey, if I could sell your house by Valentine's Day or whatever big holiday was coming up or big event was coming up, Super Bowl Sunday, whatever, would you be interested in selling your property? Give me a call. We need to talk.
Yeah. And if you're not doing that strategy now, I think you'll find a lot of success if you pick that back up here in Minnesota because of all the snowbirds.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's tons of those.
I'm sure.
My neighborhood's full of them.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. No, it's really good. And there's a couple houses I drive by and I go like, I need to drop off a letter. I keep thinking I need to do that. So it's a good reminder. Another thing, too, you were saying with investors coming in and, saving sellers that, are on the path to a short sale or foreclosure, the lending practices have also really tightened up since.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, so if you saw the graph that I was talking about from the last episode, obviously the giant mass of foreclosures was after the housing collapse and after 2008. But since then, lending practices have tightened up, which is now why people get so pissed when they're like, why do you need all this documentation, blah, blah, blah. It's, in my opinion, if you're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars,
right,
like, some bank statements is the least you can give.
Yeah, seriously. And, I hear you. It's absolutely normal. And I tell my clients all the time, like, it's very invasive to get a mortgage now. Like, be prepared. You're going to feel like they want to know everything about you. They want every drop of blood out of you. But it's not even that. They just want to make sure you're safe to give the loan to.
Yeah, and it's for your protection, essentially. I mean, the bank obviously selfishly, they want to protect themselves. They want to make sure that you can pay them. But it's also so you don't get in over your head.
Correct.
So, yeah, I think when also imagine if you were going to give someone hundreds of thousands of dollars of your money, you'd probably want to make sure they could pay.
I'd want their firstborn's leg. Like, seriously.
Exactly. So with that too, I mean, now banks, there are a lot of programs too. Banks want you to keep your home. They don't want you to foreclose because if you foreclose, then they own it and they're not in the business of selling real estate.
Banks do not want to own homes.
Yeah.
They don't. They don't make money that way.
Yeah. So, I mean, they give you every chance to keep your home because they don't want to kick you out because then that's another home on their books that they do not want.
Yeah.
So, that's another reason foreclosures are so low. So, hopefully that cleared up something. I mean, do you have anything else on that topic?
No, the only thing I would like to add to that is if you are in a situation currently where you're facing foreclosure or short sale, have an open conversation with your lender because they want you to stay in the house.
Yeah.
They will set up payment plans with you. They will work with you. And, if you need to get out of the house, either call me or Blair. We got you.
No, for sure. And a lot of times that'll be, I mean, if you want to stay there, it should be your last option. But get your lender involved earlier than later.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Don't be ashamed. It's embarrassing, sure, but don't feel like they're not going to help you because they will.
Yeah, do it before it's too late, before it's like now you're tapped for all your money and you can't make any sort of payment.
Yep.
Because they want to work with you. They want to, get you on partial payment plans, something to keep you in that home. But they can help you a lot easier if you come early. So
correct.
Great. As always, we will wrap with FAQs. So, Amber, for newer homebuyers, how should they get started with that process?
So for newer homebuyers, so I'm assuming first time, my first recommendation is always find a real estate agent that you click with. This real estate agent is essentially going to be your best friend throughout your rest of your life, hopefully. Yeah. But for your home search, you need to find somebody that you trust. Your real estate agent is going to have a lender that they already trust. The people in your real estate agent circle are going to be your biggest asset. So they have the right home inspectors, they have the right lenders, they know how to find the right properties for you. So trust the process, trust your agent. And if you don't know who to hire as an agent, get in touch with me. I have a list of questions that you can ask agents, you can interview, because who you hire matters.
No, who you hire definitely matters. Yeah, and like you said, that should be your first step. And I always say, if you have a goal of home ownership at any point, either there's a good chance you have a lender or a real estate agent in your life, somewhere in your network. And I would start with one of those. Because that person is hopefully someone that you trust to connect you with their counterpart in lending or or a realtor space. And the reason I say get in early, it's like, even if you don't think you're financially ready yet, talk to them and they can set you up on the path to be ready for that. Because I think just reading stuff online and trying to save a little bit of money here and there, it's very hard to commit to that and make sure that you're actually doing that. I think if you speak with a lender, they can look at your finances and say, this is what you need to do to be ready by this date to buy, if you can do this.
So funny enough, Josh and I are actually going to be buying a fourplex, hopefully in the fall. And we're starting this journey now. We're not even waiting. So I literally called my lender last week and said, hey, I know you're licensed in Virginia. I need you to get licensed in Minnesota because I trust you. So he's already getting licensed in Minnesota, and we're having the conversation now. Okay, what do we need to do to prepare to make sure we're under contract by August? So we're making sure our finances are good to go. We're sending him the documents he needs right now. Like, we are planning and getting this done because we don't want to misstep. And having that plan is so important. So I would encourage, like, whoever's out there ready to buy a house, even if you're not ready right this second and your goal is to have it by the end of the year, get in touch with a lender now. Fill out your application now. It's going to ping your credit, but it's not like you're not going to lose 50 points overnight or anything like that. It's a very small tap. It's almost like, boom, like that's it. That's it. And your lender will be able to look at everything that you've got going on and say, okay, Miss Buyer or Mr. Buyer, you're going to need to increase this or pay this credit card off, or, maybe you need to get a raise of $5 an hour or $3 an hour, whatever you need. Your lender is going to be able to walk you through that and help you make that transition. I mean, I had a client last year who needed a $2 raise per hour in order to buy a house. He went to his employer, said, hey, Mr. Employer, I'm trying to buy a house. I only need $2 more an hour, according to my lender. And no kidding, he got the raise. Yeah. So it can only help you.
Yeah. No, and like you said, too, you have a great point about credit. I think being in this space, and I've always kind of been in real estate. I mean, right out of college, I was in mortgages and stuff like that. So I think I've always been conscious of it. But your credit score, I think there are a lot of people who don't really even pay attention to it, because I have buddies that when it comes time, they don't even know what theirs is, and then it turns out that it's dog shit. So I think,
like, what's your credit score, 2?
Yeah, especially so for people who don't pay attention to that, talking to a lender early gets that out of the way, because then you find out where your credit score is, and a lot of times they can point that out, tell you what you need to do, like, hey, you have these outstanding debts, let's get those paid. Or they, again, as part of that team, they might have a connection to a credit repair specialist that can help you work on that, because you definitely don't want to be the person who you do your research online, independent research, and you're like, okay, I have money saved up. And then you've saved for a year, 2 years. And then you talk to somebody and they're like, well, you have a 400 credit score.
Right.
Like, you're not, I mean, I'm guessing if you save for that long, you probably don't. But it's just, get that part out of the way. If you don't know your credit score, figure it out. You should know that.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
But yeah, so like I said, starting out, talk to a real estate agent, talk to a lender, get on the right path before, because it's very rare that, especially with a first-time home buyer, I talk to someone and they're immediately ready to go. Yeah. Right away.
Yeah, and if your agent, as a new buyer, if your agent isn't sitting down with you and telling you how the process works and what to expect, they're probably not the right agent for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's good too. You should focus on, are you going to connect with this person?
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a very miserable process if you don't.
Right, and the thing is like there's like a 2-week period in contract where you're not probably going to hear from your agent very often, and you're going to be sitting there wondering like, is everything okay? And if that expectation's not laid out at the beginning, like, hey, after we get through the home inspection negotiations and in between that and the appraisal, there's nothing for me to talk to you about. I'm going to check in with you and let you know like, hey, everything's fine, but there's nothing for you to do unless your lender needs something at that point.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what I tell all my first-time home buyers too, because a lot of them are shocked about how easy it is after done with the inspection and the appraisal. Then they're like, well, now what? It's like, just
hang out. Don't buy anything on credit.
Yeah, exactly. Just put your credit card away. Don't buy a car or furniture to celebrate.
After you close.
Exactly. That's kind of what happens. And they get nervous and they're like, well, what should I be doing? It's like, don't do anything.
Sit there and look pretty. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah. The less, the better. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. Just make sure that you can connect with that person, and you don't have to use their recommended lenders or whatever, but I recommend it. There's a reason that they work with them.
Yeah, for sure.
The lender that I recommend, it's a guy that I bought my house with and through. So like I trust him to do mine.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think anything else on that?
No, I think we covered everything on that. I think we might have gone a little overboard on that question.
Yeah, it's really not that hard,
No.
but so we probably made it seem a little more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
But yeah,
buying a house is easy. Moving's the hard part.
Talk to a professional. Get started. That's pretty much what it boils down to.
Yep, and your professional should be able to guide you and hold your hand essentially through the whole thing. Blair, what is your tips for people that are interested in becoming a real estate agent?
So for people that are interested in becoming a real estate agent, I would say talk to someone who does it and actually like shadow them for a day or go with them on an open house. I think more realistically, and I didn't do this, but follow them for like a regular day in like the office, because if you want to do this full time, it's not what it looks like on TikTok or Instagram. It's a lot of prospecting. I mean, most of your job is prospecting. And
it is.
And why I say that too is I feel like everything I do, I try and incorporate prospecting or marketing to some degree, because even when I'm out with a client already, I'm essentially prospecting because I'm making sure that they have the best experience possible so that they refer me to their network. So in that way, I'm prospecting while I do that.
Yeah, word of mouth is huge.
Yeah, so I would follow someone around, because there's a good chance, depending on your prospecting style, you're going to be doing a lot of cold calling or dialing, or you need to figure out, are you going to be on a team? Are you going to be independent? Is your team providing leads? What are you paying for? There are a lot of behind the scenes things that people think like, I get my license and then the houses just start flowing. Yeah,
it's not plug and play.
No.
It's not in the least bit.
And I would recommend as well, again, if you're going to do this full time right off the jump, make sure, I'm a little bit more financially conservative. So, I had like a year and a half saved up. If I went without a check for a year and a half, I'd be okay. Because people kept saying like, you don't know when your first paycheck is going to come.
Right.
If you join a team, that's kind of the benefit of there. They can help you out with some team leads. So I didn't go super long. I closed the deal within my first month. But if you're independent, it can take 3 months.
If you don't have a sphere of influence, that's what we call like your friends and family in real estate. If you don't have that and you're going independent, you're going to sink.
Yeah.
Unless you know how to do the grind and you're confident in your ability to do it, you're going to sink.
Yeah. And to Amber's point, I think there are a lot of people who see on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram these real estate agents doing these cool videos. For some reason, that camera just died. Doing these cool videos, and then they think it's this lavish lifestyle that you just like the houses just start coming to you. And so when you start out, you get your license, and that is essentially it.
Yeah.
You take a test to get licensed, and the licensing test is just about the legal stuff.
Yeah.
There really is nothing about the actual job that you take away from the test.
It keeps you out of prison is what it does.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, that's what the test is for.
The test is just to get you ready legally.
Yep.
And then if you don't join a team or have a mentor or have someone that's going to teach, like study with. You're going to get a little bullpen probably in a market center, and then they're just going to expect you to sell houses.
Yeah, and then you're like, what scripts do you use? Like, then they're going to teach you all these different scripts that, or they should be teaching you different scripts that help convert leads. And then you have to make it your own. And if you don't have the right mentor to do these things with and guide you and hold your hand, I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You got to figure it out.
And that's what people forget too. It's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business. So be ready to set up an LLC. Be ready to set up bank accounts in your business's name. Make sure you're keeping that stuff separate from your personal spending.
Yep. Record your mileage, all of that.
Record your mileage. And these are things that people won't tell you.
Yep.
You have to find that out for yourself. So I would say, I think most people think to get started in real estate, you get your license. I would say before you get started, find a mentor.
For sure.
Find a mentor before you get licensed, because then you'll find out if you even want to do it.
Right.
Because the first year, 2 years, even 3 years is hard.
I think there's a statistic like 80% of agents fail in their first year.
And that's what I was going to say. I think it's like 85 because we brought it up earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's like 85% don't renew their license after the first year.
Yep.
Because it's hard.
It is. It's super hard.
Unless you come from a family where everyone knows you and your parents did real estate. Like, there are stories like that and the business just comes to you, but it can be very hard. And people don't understand that showing the houses and selling them is like maybe the smallest part of the job.
Yeah, what I tell people all the time is I've never sold a house in my life because they sell themselves.
Yeah.
It's my job is to sell myself to people.
Yep.
And as long as my clients like me and I click with them, they're going to continue to use me and they're going to send their friends and family because they trust me.
Yep.
And that's what the job is.
Yeah. And Amber probably seen it now because you're on your third market, but
Yep.
until you're like maybe year 5, year 6 in one consistent market, most of your job is prospect.
Oh yeah.
Once you get over that hump, I think a lot of it's repeats and referrals if you're doing your job correctly. Again, I think now we're getting into a world where there's so many new agents that will just join a team and then they just collect Zillow leads and then it's a one and done transaction and they're not following up and they don't realize that they should be adding that person to their sphere whether it was or not. So
for sure,
continue to market to them forever after that.
Yeah, and like pop buys are a thing. Like people don't realize it. Like you have to feed into your people, and if you don't love on them, they're not going to return the love to you.
Yeah. Well, it's just there's no reason for people to think about a real estate agent until they need to buy or sell.
Right.
There really isn't. So add them, make them your friends and family, and now I send my clients my Christmas card. I send them like the holiday cards. We're sending out the quarterly. We send out a little gift or whatever.
Yeah.
And they send out a newsletter. So you stay top of mind. Some people probably get annoyed by it, but
that's okay.
Yeah, but it's so you're staying top of mind.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite little pop buy that I ever did, and I did it for all of my clients in Hampton Roads. I put together this little movie theater thing for an at-home movie night, and it was one of them little plastic popcorn bins. It was a thing of microwave popcorn and some movie theater candies. Put my business cards in them and dropped it off at everybody's doorstep. Didn't even tell them I was coming. It was just a boop, done, and it had a picture of me and my lender on it because my lender helped me pay for it.
Yep. And I was gonna say, make sure it's got your face and your name on it, and a way for them to contact you. But yeah, so I guess that was a long answer. For a simple answer would be, if you want to get started in real estate, 1, make sure you have some money saved up if you want to do this as a career, and 2, find a mentor, and then 3, get your license.
Yeah.
Even your mentor will even have tips for where you should get your license, because there are different ways you can do it online. You can do it hybrid. You can do it in person, and everyone's got opinions on that.
Yeah,
so
they do.
They'll even tell you that kind of stuff. So step 1,
mentor.
But yeah, other than that, I think that about does it for me. Do you got anything else to add?
I don't think so. I look forward to doing this next week.
Yeah. No, so this has been another episode. Please continue to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, post comments under the videos. Those are great. I love breaking those down. But until next time, this has been the Real Estate Sit Down. This is Amber Perez, and I'm Blair Berg.